Thank you everyone for joining Systel's Did You Know webinar series today. Today's webinar is Managed IT. Keep it simple. Eric Backerick is our presenter for today. He is an area sales manager for Konica Minolta. He's got 10 years of experience in the IT, managed IT, and software as a service world. So he's got a ton of experience to help you understand how to move forward with solving some of your network issues, user issues, and that kind of thing through All Covered, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Konica Minolta. So I'm going to hand this off to Eric. However, before I start, I want to make sure everyone knows that at the bottom of your palette for Zoom, you are able to ask questions throughout the presentation. There's two call outs and the letters Q and A underneath those call outs. So if you have a question, feel free to type that in. I will be monitoring that Q&A call out, and we'll take those questions as they come. Thanks, Eric, for joining us today. Thanks for investing time in presenting to us and helping us understand how managed IT is changing and how you guys can help us. Take it away, Eric.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Right?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So even though we say All Covered, we are Konica Minolta. And so how it works is Konica Minolta bought All Covered in 1997. And so it was the path that said we have these massive production print copy machines, right? And these plug into this network. And how we run our jobs, we take computers and we set our jobs up, and then we send them to that production print, and then away we go, right? Well, what happens when we would get phone calls and say, hey, our machine's not running, which has to run almost 24 hours a day, we're losing money. And so what happened was they would say, we'd go out there like, no, it's not the machine, it's the network. So then then it was like, oh, we can't help you there. And so after many years of saying we can't help you, we just decided to go all in, Konica Minolta, on not only making sure that that those machines ran, but actually making sure that the network was up and running to run these companies. And then great decision in my opinion, because as technology changes all the time, it's great to have all of these services in-house that we have. And so we fast forward to today, and you see some of the things down there at the bottom, some of these awards that we have won, and we are, you're talking to an actual top 10 global managed service provider. It's very unique today. You're going to see basically all services that are in an IT toolbox. We actually own and provide, all the way down to a full supported phone system that you can buy from us. So, and like Dwayne said, if you have some questions, feel free to chat those in. I'm going to check in every couple of slides, so that if you do have something that's relevant to the slide, we'll go ahead and take some of those questions. So yeah, as you can see there, we have lots of employees, lots of satisfied customers. I want to point out the over 11,000 plus managed servers. That's just in the U.S. alone. That's over 80,000 desktops. So we are a 24/7 help desk, and that is 4 of them throughout the U.S. We're the only IT company that has call centers U.S. based at the size of the call centers that we have. And so it gives you a level of support that is unlike anything, not only in just Atlanta, but unlike anything that's really in the United States, period. And then again, some of the awards that you see down there. One of the things that we try and do with our call centers is separate those across the U.S. so that for different time zones can be affected. So if you do have locations that are not only in Atlanta, but other places, and maybe they're on West Coast time, not an issue. So the goal that we have way we look at IT network infrastructure is we're thinking of one four-letter word called risk. And our concept is not to just focus on a couple parts of your network, but we want to actually mitigate the risk of your company going down. Because you'll know, and we all see that that risk when the company shuts down, when that network shuts down and nobody can work, that's a big issue. And just depending on your business model, it can really affect you. So we talk about business uptime is critical for us. How secure is that business? Meaning, sort of like the business continuity, consistency, and reliability, so that we can basically spin up your entire environment into our cloud, so that if you go down, you wouldn't even see it or know it, because within minutes we would have you right back up. As well as the whole concept of less downtime is basically increase in productivity. So this is like the non-technical way to think about what we try to accomplish at Konica Minolta. So it wasn't just about going in there and taking a flashlight and finding your server or where your server was and seeing the model of it. But the idea is that we want to make sure your goals, your company goals for the next 1 to 5 to 10 years, we stay in line with that as the technology changes. That was our goal to solve. This is our wheel. I like to show that basically this is one of those things where it kind of shows you everything in sort of one slide. So we have engineered IT solutions, vertical and application solutions. We have a full team that can build an app for you if you want, as well as we're Microsoft 365 certified gold partners. Cloud services, of course, we own our own cloud, investments and technology plans, and then of course managed IT, which what I was talking about, the help desk. So any questions so far? Right? So when we talk about server management, network device management, and it's one of those things where from the operations side of the house, COO, CIO, we expect those things to be running all the time, right? We expect this stuff to be monitored and maintained on an ongoing basis, because you've maybe invested a lot of money into this hardware. But as you see some of these boxes here, there's really a lot that goes into it. And so whether it's all of this that goes into your server with availability and monitoring and security patching and hardware monitoring, and it just really, we take it to the nth degree, if you will. And the idea behind all of this is to make sure that as technology changes every month, and some of these practices that are being used to maintain a network have to change. And by having all of these different ways that we look at a server, network device, and then your type of devices, we're constantly trying to stay up with any kind of advancements, if you will. When it comes to some of these services, unified management of desktops and laptops, one of our number one place from a security perspective, where a lot of our hacking happens. And of course, if you think about your cell phone, right? Well, your cell phone is very similar to now a desktop and a laptop. And when you think about how often you're changing cell phones nowadays, you really got to think about laptops and those desktops. Because what happens is, as the email protection, spam and phishing and blocking and all this stuff happens, it becomes the gateway to really get into a company is through those devices. So you should really be on a plan to be replacing those desktops and laptops every 1 to 3 years. we as a company, Conoco and Ulta, we change ours out, like with our sales staff, for example, every 2 years. That's all changed. And then, of course, we have unified management of servers and network. This is where you can have them on staff, on site, on premise, or we can host them completely virtual. And so one of the things that we're seeing across different companies is there, especially with COVID and some of the employees are working remotely, they're starting now to ask us to basically host their environment so that if anything happens, because they don't have people on site anymore or right now, that if something happens in the network, we've already got a backup so that they won't ever see any kind of downtime. Any questions so far? Nope.
Nope.
So one of the things I want you guys to think about when you talk about IT, and there's, I don't know, 500 companies out there, two guys in a ponytail, they like to joke around, that are running around from companies to companies trying to offer managed IT, but the reality is in that right there, that enterprise help desk. And so that's one thing that our competitors cannot fake when they try and say, yeah, we can do everything that Allcover does, but when you look at it and you start going through some of this stuff, they don't do it. And this is one of the biggest ones is this help desk, where 4 U.S. help desks across the U.S. and all these different time zones, and as your employees ran out into the at home and now they're all working from home, help desk calls dramatically increase because now every person's home is an office, right? So, whoa, wait, we had one office and now we have 50 employees. Now we have 50 mini offices. And that's, I mean, you can't fake being able to support a client that within a month COVID hits and now all their employees are all out and all have these mini offices. And that's something that we excel at. And so it's one thing to think about when you're out there is being able to help manage those remote employees with our help desk. And then, of course, with all those different 50 little mini offices within an office, we have remote server support, on-site support, not at the house, but definitely since there's not a lot of employees, maybe at the office, it's very easy for us to slide into your office to do any kind of updates on your network if something goes down, because there's not a whole lot of people that are in the offices, which is great. And then, of course, we have backup service, which is that business continuity where we can have everything basically in the cloud. No questions? Good. So security, and this is one thing I want you guys to take a couple seconds and read through some of this. And when companies tell you, yeah, or third-party companies, yeah, we do security, or we got a CD and we uploaded it, but this is what real cybersecurity looks like. And then this is a whole team of people that are monitoring this and are on the front lines, if you will, of what hacking looks like today, or attacking. So instead of thinking about it hacking, because everyone uses that, your business is under attack, whether you want it or not. So if you look through this stuff, it really, we take security to a whole nother level. And then what backs up this security approach, it's tied into our help desk. You're going to hear that as a theme as I show you. We see a lot of this, is that actually every product you see is supported by a single help desk, which again makes us very unique to other companies.
Well, Eric, we have a question now. And
yep.
How do you support my employees that are working remotely from anonymous?
Right there, a help desk. That's your big one right there. And help desk is going to tie in to whatever devices that you're on. So basically, you're going to submit the type of laptops you're using, the type of devices you have. We'll do remote monitoring. So now those one office turned into 50 mini offices. Now we're watching from our headquarters here every one of those devices, and we're making sure that if one of those devices gets hacked, we're gonna shut it down so that it then can't spread to the other 49 offices, which then gets back into the main office. Very unique, and it can't be something that's just you say you can do it. We're only one of a handful of companies that can even do this approach. But yeah, we offer that help desk to your remote employees. Okay.
So we have one more question. There
Oh, okay. Go
increase
ahead.
in service after going to 50 versus one location?
No, and that's actually a fantastic question. Our pricing and our pricing is based on the workstation, and so whether the workstation is at the office or it becomes remote, it's still the same cost. And again, I'm going to actually use that because it's something that we take for granted. The fact that we are that your workstation from work can basically be anywhere, but because we have that remote monitoring, regardless as to where you're at, you can call into that help desk and be able to get help.
Great. Another question: does All Covered provide VPNs?
Absolutely. Okay, security awareness training. It seems easy. It seems like every company under the sun says that, oh yeah, definitely do security training. But we really take it to a whole nother level, and we can be one of those every quarter type of training we can do. We can do it once a year. We can do it for if you have new groups come in, like a new group of employees. But we have some of the largest training modules. Prior coming to Konica Minolta, I didn't realize, I'd never seen a company that does training and has training videos on just about anything you can imagine technology-wise that you can go in and they have access to. So it's really fantastic. So when it comes to proactive versus reactive, and if there's one thing that I hope that you guys take away from today, because I know IT tends to not actually be the best things or the most interesting thing, but it's really proactive versus reactive. And today, because the cyber attacking is so massive, that if you're not proactive, you're really setting yourself up for outages or potentially having your company shut down. Most recently, a hospital that's a client of ours in Florida just got shut down. You got to try and get your mind around that. What goes on in a hospital and the ramifications of someone actually trying to take down a hospital. I mean, you've got to be a pretty sick individual or sick company to hack a hospital and threaten it. But of course, we had their network completely backed up. But these because they were proactive, it's you really got to be this proactive approach. So for us, it's about we have dashboard tools, there's alert automation and notification that's going to give you 100% visibility across our IT device infrastructure and devices, which means we're going to take out the guesswork when it comes to infrastructure, how it's performing. So you're going to know what's happening, when it's happening, if there's a potential that for some reason you're starting to get something's going wrong in your network. By having us monitoring it, you're going to see all this stuff here. And then the reality is the reduction in business downtime. So we do have a level 3 data center Level 4 is considered government and financial institutions, meaning the level 4, actually level 3 and level 4 have the same sort of uptime, which is very little. You're talking minutes throughout the year, as opposed to most companies that offer any sort of cloud services use level 1 or level 2 because they're trying to offer cloud backup is cheap. So cheap, you get what you paid for, basically. And there are also a lot of these companies that do cloud storage. They are just working off another provider that, again, is level 1, level 2. Level 1 and 2 will have hours a year, if not days or weeks, that your network can go down. And basically, you get a notification that says, hey, sorry to let you know you're going to be down for the next 3 days. Oh, okay. Is that a good thing, you know? So us being a level 3 data center that we own, I've actually walked into one of those data centers that's in New Jersey. We have 2 redundant, so 3 throughout the U.S. So when we say reduction in business downtimes, we take that to a level that really no other MSP in the United States is going to take that when it comes to non-government or non-financial institutions. Make sense? Some of the other things that we have, virtual CIO. This is actually really valuable today when you think about it. Depending on the size of your company, you may not have, I'd say not the budget for it, but you may not need the CIO all year. And so, but it's nice to have virtual CIO where we are that big brother, if you will, that's going to be able to sit down with your executive team and make sure that technology plan that we're staying in there. And so we can give guidance, and because we're monitoring so many environments in real time, we see processes that our competitors don't see because they just don't have as many clients as we do. But really, that virtual CIO can be really beneficial and help meet those budget constraints when it comes to some of these IT costs, if you will. Obviously, continuous service improvement plan programs, proactive services and preventative maintenance, monitoring and real-time response support, and improved security and data protection for cyber threats. So all of that, then calling into the help desk that supports all that. Again, you could realistically replace 3 to 10 of your IT with us. And the reason that, again, then having that help desk, you're able to then have a discussion about anything that seems to be going on. So now you're like, okay, Eric, we get it. You know, you got these services, you got everything. Seems like you have all this, but how about support? Because that's what kills the relationship. It's one of the number 1 reasons why a company is going to reach out to Systel and say, hey, our managed IT provider is a disaster. Can you guys help us out? They're not showing up. They're not doing what they said they were going to do. Just all this kind of stuff. And that's one of the biggest reasons why companies come to us, but it's the ongoing support. And so we have initiates. Obviously, it's going to be some sort of setup call. It's going to be preparation for the project. The example like you guys used earlier, what happens, and hey, part of my plan is what happens if my 30 employees that just came back to work and COVID hits again, and so they all got to go back out to work. What's that plan? What can we do in preparation to have a backup plan for it, and then execute? How we're going to have a whole team that's going to come in and make sure that it gets set up properly, and then it gets to monitor and control. That we're going to regularly meet with you guys to be able to adapt to the plan changes. Now you got to go back out into the workplace. And then, I guess close is really celebrating some of the success in onboarding, that once you're up and running, that, now once you're dependent or now you're able to use help desk, away you go. Any questions? No? So roles and responsibilities, if you can guys take a quick look at some of these roles that we have that's going to be part of your support. Most managed service companies would be like, wow, we have a couple of those. I mean, that's, we don't provide all of that kind of support, and we're going to support your company. So there's no way that, again, we were talking about 60 employees going back out into the workforce, and then we just automatically not a problem with our help desk, because we have all of this. And when you have all of these levels of support and teams, because each one of these are teams within the company, you're going to get a product that you've never seen when it comes to support. So strategic IT review, we want you to have be able to assess the current situation so that you guys are comfortable with your environment. We're going to evaluate it, where we think it can go. We use rapid fire tools. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. Write it down, rapid fire tools. And basically what it is, it's one of the third-party vendors that we use. It's not a company that we own, and we don't want to own it, because this allows us to come in and evaluate your network to a third-party product called Rapid Fire Tools. Obviously, you can sign up for it yourself, your IT department, and run this scan of your network to give you an idea of where you're at or how vulnerable you are. If you have us do it, we don't charge for it. We can run this tool. But basically what the idea is, we're going to get a good evaluation. We're going to be able to manage and adjust with that plan. And then we're going to be able to measure and then consistently report on it. So when we talk about all covered, and we talk about the 4 C's, okay? Consolidation, continuity, collaboration, content, right? The one thing that we are really seeing in the first one, which is consolidation. Before COVID, I'll be honest with you, companies weren't necessarily consolidating as much as they were expanding at a rapid growth, but now we're seeing a lot of consolidation happening. And so it's not uncommon for companies to come to us and say, hey, we've got to reduce our IT budget by 20%. We've got to reduce IT staff by 40%. Can you guys help us? Absolutely. And so when we talk about consolidation, we're going to come up with a technology plan that works around your budget, so that you don't have to basically close a location or whatever. But we are working to solve those every day with companies, and that allows for the continuity of potentially spinning this up in our environment so that nothing goes down. We will collaborate internally. So using us, instead of, if you think about having one internal IT resource on staff, and we're that one IT resource on staff, we're collaborating with engineers, solution architects, with some of the best in the business that basically will help put a plan together to make sure it makes sense for the business. And then, of course, content. So if you think about anything that I've really talked about, it's really the 4 C's that we try and cover the business as a whole, to make sure that we're making sure that your business is staying up with the growth plans or the consolidation plans the next 1 to 3 years. Any questions there? Nope. This is the last piece of it, and this is an entire presentation itself. Really, it's another thing that just our competitors just are not going to do this. They're not going to put this detail into account management. They feel like sometimes as long as they just show up and walk around the office and let them know that, hey, we're here. If you need anything, let us know. But these are actually real reports, reviews, summaries, remote, that we're going to do on a consistent basis to make sure that your network is not going to go down, and we stay out in front of any changes that we need to make based on the initiatives of the company, whether it's growing, whether it's trying to level off, or whether trying to consolidate. And we have a dedicated account management team that's going to continually go through these reviews, these quarterly reviews, so that there won't be a time that the executive team knows what the health is of their network. All they got to do is wait for the next quarterly review, and they'll have all of that. Any questions there? All right. So this is the section now where I will field some question and answers. And then as you guys are thinking about those, I talked with Dwayne about talking about some examples of the verticals that we are in that really takes managed IT to a whole nother level. And I mean, this right here is the big reason that I came to Konica Minolta, is because of this focus in these major verticals. Now, we can basically sell to any vertical that has any sort of risk, because that's what's important, always risk and downtime. But if you see these five, one thing I want you to think about with those, if you're out there and you're in some of these verticals, is that our help desk specifically has a legal division of the help desk. We have a healthcare division of the help desk. We also have an education part of our help desk, and then a finance part of our help desk, because those particular verticals are very specific, and they have risk that they all four have a lot of risk, but it's all very high, but they have different risk. And when I mean risk of being shut down and how that impacts the business. And then, of course, the easy one is manufacturing. Obviously, manufacturing goes down, the risk is potentially millions of dollars, because they're missing their part runs, they're missing their orders, all that kind of stuff. But starting with education, we are really finding that right now is incredibly one of the hottest verticals right now. Obviously, for all of those that have kids, we're all trying to figure out how we go back to school. My wife's actually a teacher in Gwinnett County, which is the largest county in the state of Georgia, and it's big. And right now they're trying to figure out, how do we go back to school? How do we go back safely? And then what's the plan for the students? And then what's that backup plan? Because if you remember in some earlier slides, we talked about having that plan, A, B, and maybe C. And it's funny, C for Corona, no pun intended. But what happens if Corona comes storming back in Gwinnett County? Gwinnett County's got that backup plan. And so that's some of the stuff we're solving for in education right now, is how are we putting technology plans together in education that allow that college, that high school, that church that has now offering classes, how do they become online virtual literally overnight? Governor comes out and says, boom, everything's shut down. No one's allowed to go to school. So within minutes, they've got to have an online approach that not only is able, but works. Because the last thing you need is a bunch of students trying to log in to get their assignments or log in to see a class, and it doesn't work. And so, we like to joke around that money never sleeps, but, education never sleeps either. So when these classes, if we don't run these classes, they get behind quickly. So we are, and if not the top, we are right at it for education. we can show you things about, even it's within your company and you need to train your existing employees, and you're going to have to do it remotely. And now you got to bring in people from all over the U.S. that are now remotely. That's education as well and training. So we have really deep understanding of Promethean type monitoring boards that are all touch screen. So basically, we put a camera on an individual who's going through training, and they can touch on these Promethean boards, and it jumps around, and they can separate screens. Where we turn a conference room literally into a virtual classroom, so that from a cost perspective, from your own business, think about when you had to do those trainings where you had to either go to, everyone's going to go to Florida down to Disney, or everyone's going out to California. Now you can run full-on new employee training from one office, and we can make it virtual. And then bring in all the technology that an online college uses right into your own office. Healthcare, we are the largest globally. There is nobody bigger than us in healthcare. When you think about Konica Minolta, if you walk in any, and I mean literally any doctor office, if you go into any hospital, that word Konica Minolta is most known for imaging equipment. So if you've ever been in major surgery, have gone through floors of a hospital, these are these machines that look like it looks just like a gigantic metal box or plastic box, and they're on wheels, and it's like, you know, it's almost like it comes by you and you're like, how in the heck is that thing even mobile? These are some of these imaging devices that Konica Minolta, coming back from our old camera days, right? Imaging, where we know healthcare like nobody else. And on top of that, from those imaging, now we have HIPAA compliance. So if you are in healthcare, it's pretty interesting what it means to be HIPAA compliant, and it changes all the time. And I mean, 9.9 times out of 10, when we sit down with most companies that are in healthcare, and they go through one of our HIPAA compliance, or they go through one of our evaluations, they're just shocked how much they were not doing that they're supposed to do. And so it's not uncommon for Konica Minolta to travel around the U.S. and speak at conferences, healthcare conferences, about HIPAA compliance. We actually have our HIPAA compliance team works in the Vinings, in the Gwinnett Medical Building, which is now Northside. So their IT division actually works in that building that we're in, and we're in there together. But basically, our HIPAA compliance team works in that office, actually in the same office that I do. But it's very, very, you know, to get HIPAA compliance, there's a lot to it. We do have RCM, revenue cycle management. So now, for the first time, a managed IT company is offering a complete solution in healthcare. And revenue cycle management, not to go too deep, it's just basically everything back office, scheduling, accounts receivable, accounts payable. I mean, you name it, it's all in that revenue cycle management. So when I say we can be your technology provider that basically takes over all of these technologies in the companies, that's us today. As well as, obviously, we do the print document management, again, with a great partner like us, like Systel, that helps us with that. Legal, we have the only legal help desk that I know of. I mean, I don't know anybody that does legal or even interested in doing legal like we do it. The reason that we do legal differently, and if there are any law firms that are on this call, maybe you can circle back around with Dwayne, and I can get one of my legal reps on the phone, our director, to talk about what it means to be protected. I mean, do you want to talk about attacking, hacking, attacking? Right there. I mean, these are your targets. And when it comes to legal, the big reason they're going after legal typically has poor networks. They don't really take the security piece that serious. They do a lot of paper, if you will. They don't realize how many regulations that there are when it comes to this. All of these things, you're protected with us, and then we have that dedicated help desk to make sure that your clients aren't going to be hacked. Because honestly, when it comes to legal, it's not that they don't want the information that the law firm has, but it's those clients. It's those $1 million, multi-million dollar, $1 billion representing $1 billion company. They're using the law firm in order to hack into them. And so legal is being under attack. And most law firms, we go in there and we turn it on. We do it in a way where we just look at the network, because there's a good chance you're already hacked, and that law firm is being watched, and they're watching the habits of your clients. And then when they get to a point where they feel like they've got you in a position, everything's locked. And so, and it's like, oh yeah, I got cybersecurity, yeah, but no, we do, again, legal cybersecurity like nobody does it. And so definitely something that you can follow up with Dwayne and I to learn a little bit more about that, about legal. Finance, we have our own division in finance, again. So finance is its own division. Legal does, healthcare does, education does. Finance, obviously, we start talking about security. That is very critical. Their risk, they may be at the highest risk of anybody because it's all financial, even more so than maybe manufacturing is. They want everything, the attacker from finance. And again, because we do finance differently than everybody, we take security to the nth degree. So that help desk is dialed in, remote monitoring. What we're doing is a way to finance that's very unique. And so again, if any of you are in that vertical, follow up with Dwayne and I, and we can do some more deep diving into how we help and protect our financial companies. And then lastly is manufacturing. So, man, it's running through my mind. It's all different kind of manufacturers. It's less about the manufacturer who can be down for 1 to 2 months. And believe it or not, I was in a manufacturing facility that's in Roswell, and majority of what they do is not being done on on some sort of technology piece or something to be entered. It's like hands-on, and they're building stuff with their hands. So yeah, they can be down. They can be down for a couple of months. So they don't really have as much risk as, on the flip side, as any type of manufacturer that has any sort of assembly production that has orders coming in. E-commerce, and this is a good segue into our application development. You heard me say this a lot. Nobody does it like this. No one does. You will not find a managed IT company like ours that does application development. What that means as a whole, if we're thinking about our cell phone again, we're thinking about e-commerce, okay? We're thinking about now how we're buying everything online as opposed to walking into JCPenney's or Sears. I use those because those are no longer around. And how we're going from buying things online to how we used to shop. Well, what that is doing is that's taking manufacturers in Atlanta that weren't e-commerce really. I mean, they're like, yeah, we had our partners that put our orders, but now it's not good enough. That our vendors are saying, look, you guys have to set up that it's direct order for the demand. And so our application development team, fantastic. They will come into your organization. They will literally look at everything you're doing to process an order and start getting that into an app, into a website, into an app. And the reason we obviously are going to use apps because they're fast. They can prevent bottlenecks. And so within 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years, as your online e-commerce increases, we are changing with it. So you don't feel like you're just going to buy a website and you're going to buy these apps and then we're going to walk away. That's not how it works. As you're evolving, as you're manufacturing, as your orders increase, you're going to need to make updates to your e-com website, and you're going to need to make updates to your apps. So that's us. So not only can we help build it, but the application development team maintains it and services it on an ongoing thing. Again, going back to that help desk to where now I can call in per help desk on my app, my website, my network, my servers. 50 remote employees can all call the same help desk. Everybody's calling. The security piece is all into the help desk. And the last thing I'll leave you guys with before I take some questions is voice over IP. So we were kind of doing it, and then we're like, nah, this is not working out. It's not working out. Us getting some partners together and us sending some of our great clients over to these partners, we decided to buy one of the best voice over IP companies that was out there. And years later now, we have everything that we do from a phone system is you dial right into that same help desk. And so now whether it's phones, whether it's headsets, whether it's an app that you can use on your phone, as long as you dial through the app, everything can be recorded, everything can be tracked. I mean, we really take voice over IP again to a whole nother level because it's then going to be tied into this network that we manage. So there's not a piece to that business technology-wise that we can't help you with. And that's kind of coming out all covered. So if you guys have any questions, Dwayne, you can open that up as well.
Yep. Thanks, Eric. We are open for Q&A now. If you have a question, the call-outs, the 2 call-outs with Q&A below them, just type whatever you're interested in having answered by Eric, and we'll get that up on the screen. Okay. Well, Eric, it doesn't seem like anything's going to come through. I'd like to thank you, Eric, for your time today. We really appreciate it at Systel. We enjoy partnering with All Covered, and we've had some success with All Covered Voice and also Managed IT. Thank you, everyone, for attending today's seminar, or webinar, rather, and we look forward to another one. Next week, if you have somebody who you believe needs to hear this presentation, Eric will be doing this same presentation next Friday at 2 p.m. also. So thank you again, Eric, and thank you all of the attendees for your time today. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. See you guys.